Think what a complicated monster an energy plan for all of New York State is. All the cars, the skyscrapers, the factories, the solar and wind arrays, making sure 20 million people have electricity for their AC on the hottest day of the year. It's crazy. Well, the state just approved a new 15-year energy plan, trying to manage all that and get closer to a carbon-free world. Critics say it doesn't go nearly far enough. We talk with the woman who chairs the board that passed it on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And the Devlin Inn and Suites, Lake Placid, welcoming families, athletes, and groups to the Olympic Village, offering Adirondack mountain views and dog-friendly accommodations. TheDevlinNY.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, December 24th, Christmas Eve. First up, Governor Kathy Hochul signed a new set of prison reforms into law last week. The bill comes a year after an inmate was beaten to death by officers at a state prison near Utica. Emily Russell reports.
The new prison reforms are aimed at expanding transparency in all 42 of the state's correctional facilities. Now, every prison is required to have cameras in every area of the facility, except for toilets, shower stalls, and cells. The new bill also requires state and local correctional facilities to share video footage of any inmate deaths within 1 to 3 days with the Attorney General's office. It was body camera footage that played a critical role in capturing the deadly beating of Robert Brooks last December. He was incarcerated at Marcy Correctional near Utica. 6 correction officers were charged with murdering Brooks. Brooklyn State Senator Julia Salazar sponsored the prison reform bill.
We're taking a really serious step to make our state prisons less violent and safer for incarcerated individuals and for staff.
But the union that represents correction officers said in a statement that it was, quote, deeply disappointed in Hochul for signing the bill. The statement described the legislation as broad, punitive oversight on COs who are already under, quote, constant surveillance and scrutiny. Along with outfitting all New York State prisons with more video cameras, the new legislation also gives the Correctional Association of New York more access to state prisons and prison data. The head of the prison watchdog group told the New York Times that the prison reform bill is, quote, monumental, though said more reforms will still be needed in the future. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
Last week, New York passed a new state energy plan. It's a huge 1,000-page, complicated document that lays out a roadmap for the state's energy future. It includes the state's push to reduce carbon emissions to stop the harmful effects of climate change, an effort New York is currently behind on. The plan was praised by conservative lawmakers as a clear-eyed, realistic approach, but progressives and environmentalists criticized the continued reliance on natural gas and other fossil fuels and the lack of an aggressive cap on carbon emissions. Doreen Harris is CEO of NYSERDA, the State Energy Research and Development Authority. She also chairs the State Energy Planning Board that approved the new plan. She told me it provides a framework for the next 15 years of energy production and consumption in New York, a plan Governor Kathy Hochul calls an all-of-the-above approach.
So we're going to grow wind and solar and hydroelectric resources on the order of 90% over that time frame. It also, though, recognizes that these resources must be balanced, and the benefits of balancing those resources with other technologies like zero-emission technologies such as advanced nuclear, certainly as a area that Governor Hochul has made clear she's very strongly supportive of, but also the fact that we will need to continue to rely on the energy systems we have today. So our fossil assets will need to be maintained and perhaps repowered over that planning horizon as well.
A lot of critics of this plan have said, that continued reliance on natural gas and other fossil fuels infrastructure and, this transition takes years to make happen to a carbon neutral future, and this just delays it, kind of kicks it down the road. What do you say to that?
I would say very much so that when we look at what is happening in our state today from the perspective not only of the deployment of projects that in many cases have been under development for many years, we're seeing them actually be constructed across the upstate region. We see wind and solar projects moving forward. We see the large Champlain Hudson Power Express project bringing Canadian renewables down into New York City. All of that is the product of a level of commitment that has existed certainly in our state for many years, but also the imperative that certainly Governor Hochul has set forward to construct and to do and to move forward with these projects. So I'd say at the end of the day, these are projects that take many, many years to move forward, and the durability of commitment from the state of New York has allowed that to happen. We look at the pace of change in our state energy plan reflective of the realities of the day, however, and we know that many of these technologies are literally under assault from the federal government. And so we need to be clear-eyed about the pace of change that can be reasonably effectuated in the coming 15 years. That's very much the plan's imperative, is to take a bottoms-up look at what can reasonably happen, what is ambitious but achievable for our state.
This plan recognizes that New York is not going to reach its goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by the end of this decade, by 2030. Why haven't we met that goal? And how do you get around, that being sort of in the law?
Yes, the plan does take into account scenarios that would, I'd say, lay out a pathway similar to that which is within our Climate Act, but it does not use that plan as our base case. The objective of the energy plan is to do what one would imagine it to be true, which is to look at policies, to look at market uptake, and to look at pathways that are, as I had said, ambitious but achievable. And in doing so, it really does reflect, I think, an extraordinary level of ambition with respect to the transition that we know is possible in our state. It does reflect the progress as compared to the Climate Act. In this case, the achievement of the 2030 objectives within the Climate Act could be realized in the late 2030s. So it reflects that timing as a matter of, I'd say, an objective, clear-eyed look at the progress that we're likely to make.
As you've been saying, there's a lot of realism in this plan going forward. A lot of lawmakers have praised that realism. As New Yorkers think about this, and as New Yorkers see another very real thing happening, which is they're seeing the effects of climate change in their neighborhoods, the damaging effects of floods, etc. How should they be thinking about what some people say is New York sort of, pumping the brakes a little bit on, what was an aggressive climate neutrality plan?
Well, I would say that it is the case that we are solving for multiple objectives through this plan. We know that we need an energy system that is affordable, that is abundant, that is reliable, and is clean. And we know we need an energy system that can support the economic development that our state is realizing and the environment that we know we can benefit from. And so this is solving for multiple outcomes simultaneously. And it is. It's laying bare the imperative that we need to keep the lights on, that we need to deliver energy that New Yorkers can afford, and we need to grow our economy, and we need to invest in our energy system. So the point of the plan is to look at this from all perspectives and to arrive at scenarios that are able to be achieved but can meet those outcomes at the same time.
Doreen Harris is CEO of NYSERDA and chairs the State Energy Planning Board, which authored and approved the new State Energy Plan. Story of the Day will be off tomorrow and Friday. We're back at it on Monday. Meanwhile, there's always the latest news on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Adrian Carr of Plattsburgh and Martha Gallagher of Keene. Have a lovely, Merry Christmas and a great holiday weekend. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.